I want to give it just a few more minutes, see if anybody else pops in, because I've got a couple announcements, housekeeping things, and so I want to make sure as many people are going to show up so we can all hear them. All right, we'll go ahead and we'll get started, and hopefully people pop in. So I have just a couple housekeeping things I want to talk about here at the beginning. So the first one is a couple of people had asked me, and I had mentioned it before, on doing some kind of workshop or extra material on how to do actual like analyses, or things like hypothesis tests, confidence intervals, regression, things like that in R. Since there isn't a statistical prereq on this course, I can't include it as part of the course material, but I know a lot of you are interested in that. And so I am sure, like many of you all, as we approach the end of the semester, I am absolutely swamped, and putting other things on my plate just starts becoming more and more impossible. And I feel like you all are probably in the exact same boat. So I do want to provide that for you all. So I wanted to get your all's feedback, and I need to just send out a survey to do this, but again, we'll put it on your radar. What I am thinking is, after the semester has concluded, some point in early summer, I will just hold a workshop for those of you that are interested, and I can send you the materials via email, and you all could come and meet then. So that way, at least finals are behind everyone, and we feel maybe a little bit less crazy at that point in time, or at least that's how I feel. So if that's, if that would work well for you all, I'll send out a survey and see if that sounds reasonable. That's kind of what I'm thinking about doing, to provide you all with that information so that you have it. And again, probably just in a couple weeks after finals. Cameron says thumbs up. So yeah, like I said, I know as finals approach, I too feel that pressure. So that's my plan on that. I didn't want you all to think that I had forgotten about it. It is definitely still on my radar. I just, like I said, swamped. The other thing is, I have started grading, or actually I'm almost finished grading your second mini projects. Overall, they look really good. The main thing that I want to mention, and I've put comments on everybody's to this effect, I do want to talk just a little bit about outliers. This is a thing that I find very prevalent with data analysis, and it's not actually correct. And so any chance that I can get to kind of, reinforce this idea. So it's the idea of outliers. So, and I've seen this since, my early graduate school days when I would do consultations. A lot of people think if it's an outlier, you remove it. We do not want to remove things that are true outliers. And so I'll talk about why that is. But before I do that, so for this assignment, I put things in there, like I tweaked the data, and I put in what we could call outliers with air quotes. And really what they were is they're values that aren't biologically possible. So things like somebody hasn't had a bowel movement in 93 years and someone is 300 years old. Those aren't biologically possible. Those are obvious errors. Those cannot occur in the population. So those types of things, if we call those outliers, we want to remove those. They're not biologically possible. So there's no way we want those in our data set. We're just going to set those to missing because we know they are wrong. Or in practice, you would actually go to who collected and entered the data, and you would talk to them and say, hey, was there a misentry here? What happened? I need to do something with this data point. True outliers, which could actually happen from, that's biologically possible, you don't want to remove those. The reason for that is there are some variables that are going to be naturally skewed that have observations that rarely occur, but that doesn't mean that they're impossible, and you may want to actually model them. So for example, if we think of age, it is biologically possible for somebody to be 102 years old. It just doesn't happen that often. So if we were looking at elderly care, for example, we don't want to ignore those people that are over 100 years old. We recognize that it's biologically possible. They are part of the data set, and they will include valuable information. It's just that those values rarely occur. So that is a potential for skewed data, which isn't bad. We just have to make sure that we account for it. And we want to account for it because we recognize that those values can occur in the population. It's just that they rarely occur. And so when you do diagnostics for things like regression, for those of you that have had regression, and you look for outliers, it's not that you're looking for outliers so that you can remove them. You're looking for outliers to see, one, was there an error? So was somebody 300 years old, which they can't be? And you're also looking for outliers because when you actually do analyses, you want to make sure that your model or your analysis is well fit to the data, and outliers can affect that. So I just wanted to say there is not a blanket rule ever that we just remove all outliers. We do want to be very careful and considerate when we look at those extreme observations and see, hey, is that something that's biologically possible? Does it actually tell me something about the population? Because we don't want to remove that if that is the case. So there's my little soapbox on outliers. The last thing that I want to talk about is the final exam. Believe it or not, we are getting close to the final exam. And one of the things that I had mentioned last time was, for those of you who are working with real data, I want to give you the opportunity for your final exam to actually do something with your real data. So I'm going to share screen here. I'm going to post this to the announcements after class as well. So for the final exam for the course, I'm going to give you the option to build your own final project. So everyone in the course is going to have the option of either you do the final project I give you, or you build your own final project. If you are working with real data, highly recommend the build your own final project. So that way you can kind of double dip and you'll get to work with your real data that you're already working with. And that, you know, it'll make it a little bit more meaningful than if I give you a data set that might not necessarily mesh with what your individual research interests are. Have I written the other final project yet? No, I'll probably write it in the upcoming weeks, but it will be something similar to this. It just won't be with your specific data set. So if you want to build your own final project, all you have to do is send me a very short proposal just to tell me, hey, this is what I plan on doing for my final project. I will approve it and I'll say, great, go for it. But this is what it has to include. It will have to include 3 sections. The first thing will just be like a material section. That's basically going to be tell me about your data set. So I have some domain knowledge and I know what you're working with. Methods are what you want to do with the data set. So this can include data cleaning, data visualization, or some types of analysis. I am going to include graduate students to include a very basic analysis piece, even though we haven't covered analysis. So this will be that thing where, you know, I want to see, especially for graduate students, can you extend what you've learned in this class and pick up a small new piece? This does not have to be a very in-depth analysis. I'm just looking for something like, can you do a t-test? Can you do an ANOVA? And I think most of the graduate students have had a statistics course before to where you have that background. If you are a graduate student and you do not have that background, since it's not required for the course, please let me know. And I will provide the background that you need for that particular analysis, not the code, but the conceptual background. And again, I'm not looking for anything major here. Something very, very simple. I just want to see, can you do something beyond, you know, what you have learned in this course? Now, what you want to do with the data is going to be very dependent on your own individual project. And so that's why I want you to define what that is. It may be that your data set's already clean, so you don't need to do any data cleaning. So you can just tell me that and say, hey, I'm going to really just focus on the visualization aspect and maybe, you know, that tiny little new piece, which is the analysis. So that is really going to be up to you. I want you to do something meaningful with your data. And so again, if you need to talk through that with me, I'm happy to do that. But that is meant to be, again, something meaningful that's actually going to be useful for you for your individual data. And then the results will just be, what results do you expect to get? So your methods will be, hey, I'm going to do these kinds of visualizations. The results will be those actual visualizations. So again, the proposal, I'm not looking for anything major here, like half a page, just so I have a good feel for what it is you're doing. I can make sure it's appropriate for the final project. And then you just have to get that to me no later than April 26th so that I can approve that. So you've still got a couple weeks to think about this if this is the route that you want to go. And again, I'm going to post that information to the announcements in the course. You don't have to do this. I'm going to write a final project and you can just do the standard final project. I, again, just wanted to give you the opportunity so you can kind of double dip, use some of the skills from your course, apply it to your real data so that it might be more meaningful. Any questions about that? All right then. All right, so we're going to do the usual breakout room. So if you're still working on 11.1 or 11.2, I'm going to put you in the room with Ron. If you are ready to work on the lab, which is going to look at tidy data. Now, I will say this lab directly relates to the reading from 11.2. So if you haven't done, if you've done 11.1, but you haven't done 11.2, I would probably stay in the room with me. And then I would just kind of sit back, do that reading, do that quiz from 11.2. You're really going to want to do that before you tackle the lab. They go hand in hand with one another. So if you want to do that and stay in the room with me so I can help with the lab, I'm happy to do that. But otherwise, if you're still working on 11.1, I am going to put you in the room with Ron. All right, any questions? All right, well, let me set that up then. All right, so the breakout room is open. So again, if you're still working on 11.1, go ahead and join that room with Ron. If you, don't have the option, if Zoom's not giving you the option, just send me a message in the chat and I can manually move you over to 11.1. I should say, as you're working, once you get to where you're working on the lab, if you're working on the lab, don't overthink it. So I just made my key for the lab, including my well, actually, let's not even talk about my comments. My solution for this lab, if you don't include the comments, has 5 lines of code. So you don't need a ton of code to do this. And 3 of those lines of codes are reading in those 3 different data sets. So should give you a pretty big hint there. So you don't need a ton of code to do this. This is more, conceptually, can you understand what chapter 12 is telling you?
I actually had a question. I'm trying to, can you hear me? I'm trying to rename the yes, no column to OD just for my own brain.
Yeah.
Because I know it doesn't need to do, and it's not working. So I'm going to share it with you and see.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just something weird. Oops, wrong screen. Okay, so I have this data set. I don't know if it's just the order or.
Yeah. So here. Okay, now you got your backticks, which is what you want.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you're so close.
I tried switching them too, and it didn't work. I tried putting it at the end.
You actually don't want to do that rename function.
Okay.
Because the reason for this is look at, in data 2, look at the variable column. Notice that OD is one of the options.
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to take care of that for you. So you are on the right track. So get rid of that rename.
Okay.
And then
just put the yes, no back in the spot how I had it before.
There you go. Yes.
That's how I had it. And then my brain was like, I don't like it that it says.
No, you had the right idea. Yep, exactly. So try that. If that doesn't work, let me know. But I think that's going to get you where you need to go. And you're missing a backtick after you're done.
That would explain it.
Oh, I think you've got to rerun it again. It hadn't finished running where it was missing that backtick.
Oh, okay.
It tacked it on to the end of that first bit of code.
Oh, cool. Now it worked.
There you go. Yeah, so that's one of the tricky things with chapter 12 is just, your intuition was, well, I want to add this variable. I know how to add this variable. And so your intuition was right on, Kate. But those functions in chapter 12 take care of part of that for you.
Okay. What kind of comments do you want for this? Just why are we doing it? Or do you want me to write
So just a comment or two that basically, so if it is tidy, tell me it's tidy and why. Mm-hmm. So in other words, what are the properties of a tidy data set that it satisfies? If it's not tidy, just a comment as to why it's not tidy. So like a single line that says it's not tidy because of this.
Okay.
That makes sense.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure you didn't want anything with the code.
No, not at all.
Okay, well then I guess I'm done.
So that's what I was going to say. If you understand what chapter 12 is telling you, it shouldn't take very long at all. So easy day.
Needed one of those.
I feel that. I really do.
Been a long couple weeks.
We're almost there. I feel like we've been sprinting this marathon. I usually don't sprint a marathon. We've been running a marathon, and we are very close to the end of it.
Yeah. I like these tidies. It seems to make sense more for my brain.
And so for the tidies, the tidy thing is a very practical thing to learn. So often in intro data analysis, or not intro data analysis course, if you take a more advanced data analysis course where you're working with data, the idea of long versus wide data is a very important thing to know about. Data is often written in wide format or just different types of format. But really, for most of the analyses we do, we want them in long format. And so that's essentially what this tidy is getting at, is really thinking about, you've got the same information, but you can put it into data sets in different ways, but to actually analyze it, there's easier ways to have it formatted. So it's a very practical thing to know about if you're going to be working with data.
You want this in a notebook, right? Not a script.
Sorry, every time. Yes, but it won't be a very long R notebook. It'll be pretty short. And you can, as I said comments earlier, but really like when you describe why that data set is or isn't tidy, do it just include it as regular text in the notebook. But like in your script, like in my key, I just did a script. So I've got it just as comments.
Well, I hope you all have a good week.
Have a great week, Kate. I'll see you next week. I'll be right back.
Dr. Ellis.
Yes.
Um, so I noticed these are all data frames. So when is it important to first convert it to a tibble, or do we always do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Oh, sorry, give me just a second. Okay. So you should probably convert it to a tibble, but in all honesty, I rarely do. I usually keep it as a data frame. So the distinction between the data frame and the tibble, I wanted to make you all aware of it, but it's one of those things that is currently evolving with R, if that makes sense. So for right now, most of the things I do, I can do exactly the same with the data frame or with the tibble. 5 years from now, I think most things are going to be tibbles. Does that kind of make sense? So it probably is good practice at this point to go ahead and convert it over to the tibble. But since you're going to be applying things from Tidy here, Tidy works just as well with data frames. So for this particular lab, everything will still work the same if you just keep it as a data frame. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that makes sense. I've been converting all of them just to be safe, but no,
Yeah.
that I understand.
And like I said, I mean, in all honesty, that's probably good practice because especially if you're going to use R in the future, like I said, in about 5 years, yeah, I'm making up 5 years, but at some point in the future, I think tibbles are probably going to become, the staple of what we see, but we're just kind of in that flux. 5 years ago, I didn't know what a tibble was. You worked with data frames. And so it's just, and that happens not fairly often with R, but that is something that you see. It is always changing to add in new features and to do new things. And so that change is pretty constant. So for example, like when I first learned R many moons ago, the tidyverse wasn't a thing. So like all the things that you all are learning with ggplot was there, but tidyverse wasn't something I worked with. And even in this chapter 12, he talks about the pivot functions. Sorry, I'm losing the words I want here. Pivot wider, for example. That wasn't the function we used to do that. There was another function. And so with R, where it's open source, things are just constantly evolving.
Mine is not knitting to Word, and I don't know why.
Oh, do you want to pull it up? I'll take a look.
Gets angry with me. It says I already have this, but I don't understand.
Sorry, I'm looking here. Shelly, do me a favor. Will you highlight the R chunk that you've got there and just cut it out? We'll paste it back in a minute. I want to see if it will knit without that R chunk.
This one?
The whole chunk. So everything from line 16 to 23. So, okay, yeah, put that back in. Do you have any other R chunks that have a set working directory in them?
I deleted it because it gave me that.
Okay.
I deleted it down here because it said the same thing. So I deleted it and now it's just not.
Oh, okay. So what I want to do is take out all of those. So I want you to take out everything after, including line 16, everything after, and I want to see if it'll knit.
This, you mean?
No, so start at line 16.
And go how far?
Well, so you're starting at 17. And I want you to highlight the whole rest of your document. All right, so take all of that out and let's see if it'll knit. Okay, so we know that the issue is not with the R code now. So now we've got to figure out why it's unhappy.
So for some reason, it thinks that I've named it weird.
Yeah, which you obviously have.
Tempted to copy to a version without those characters module.
All right, do this for me. Go up to File and let's open up a new file, a new R notebook. And let's just save that as, we'll do it lab_10_Turner.
10 or 11.
10. So it's module 11, but this is lab 10 because there was 1 week we didn't have a lab. All right, go ahead and click save. Now let's just see if this will knit.
No, it says execution halted.
Strange. Can you try knitting it to an HTML? And this is the computer you normally work on, right?
Mm-hmm. Execution halted. I haven't had trouble until today. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that's strange. I'm thinking here. All right, try this. Go over to the bottom right-hand window and let's set your working directory. Click on more. with the blue gear. Set as working directory. Now let's try knitting this to an HTML.
Execution halted.
Hold on a second. Let me Google that error. All right, in that file you've got right there, I want you to delete out the R chunk, so line 14 to line 16. Now try knitting this to HTML.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Does not like knitting today.
You haven't updated your R or anything?
I haven't done anything to it.
That's strange. In your console, so in the bottom left-hand window, click on the console tab and type this line of code for me. Pandoc, P-A-N-D-O-C, underscore, version, open and close parenthesis, and then click enter for me. Oh, sorry. Well, no. It's in there. All right. I'm gonna just put something in the chat. Run this in your console for me, just that line of code. It's strange. The error you're getting should really only occur if your R has been updated and it didn't update. So now run that pandoc underscore version line of code. All right, so that's not the issue. All right, so that lab 10 Turner file, try knitting that to Word. I just want to see what it does when you try knit to Word. Yeah. Okay, so that knitted to Word. So that's something. Bit 0 bits. What is it? Give it a second. Okay, so that knitted. So now let's go back over to the module 11 lab. Okay, so for this one,
Should I just try to knit to Word one more time?
yeah, just try it and let's see what happens. Okay, so now what I want you to do.
It's telling me that file already exists. So do I delete the file name?
No, what we're going to do instead is, all right, so first I want you to copy line 8 to line 14. And then let's go over to that lab 10. Delete everything, from line 10 down and just replace it with what you just took from the other file. And go ahead and delete everything under that as well. Let's get rid of all of the default stuff. Okay, now try knitting this to Word. And let's make sure it knits. And then we'll put, we'll go from the other file, take out that little bit of R code, we'll put it in, see if it knits.
It knitted.
Okay, so now let's go back over to the module 11 file. We'll just take out that first R chunk, set it at the bottom. Okay, so that one it does not like. It's something with your working directory it doesn't like.
I've had that, and I don't know what it is about my working directory, but I keep having issues with it.
All right, go over to your console for me. Oh, I see what the problem is. So we've seen this before. Remember when you set your working directory, you can't have the file name in it. The directory just goes to the folder. It doesn't contain the file name. Yeah, so think of every time you set a working directory, that should only include folders in it. You never want to have the file name when you set your working directory. So try knitting that. Okay. Oh, you've got to load tidyverse in here because remember you're going to use pipe operators. So you got to call library tidyverse.
How did you do that?
All right. So it looks like this is working now. So just keep on doing that process, and I think you should be able to get the rest of it in there.
Okay.
All right, so I have a few questions.
Yeah, I'm ready.
So do you want us to put like all three of the data sets together into one data frame, or do you want us to treat them as separate data sets and do like the following variables per data set?
So you'll treat each of them as being separate. So this is going to be very similar. So chapter 12 starts out with 4 different data sets, and then it talks about, not chapter 4, chapter 12 starts with 4 different data sets, and then it talks about whether or not each of them are tidy and then how to transition them to tidy. You're pretty much doing the same thing here. So I've given you 3 different data sets. They all 3 contain the same information, just in different formats. So for each of the three, you're going to decide, is it tidy, yes or no? And if it's not tidy, you're going to make it tidy.
Gotcha.
So by the end, they should pretty much all look the same or be very similar after you,
Mhm.
you know, change them. And then I don't think you were here for when I said this. So I made the key for this. It takes very, very little code to do this. So in my key, like if we don't count comments or like written stuff, it's 5 lines of code. And 3 of
Okay.
those are reading in the data sets. So the hard part here is more the conceptual piece of what to do. The actual code is very, very short for this one.
Okay. Is that not including like setting the working directory and all that?
If I set the working directory in my code, it's 6 lines of code.
Okay.
So the actual transformation pieces are only 2 lines of code in my file.
Gotcha.
A question on, so I'm trying to separate out the variables in the variable column of the second data set. And I get, how do I take the values from that column and split them into the 2 new columns?
Yes, so that's in your chapter 12. So
Right.
in words, you have observations that are represented on more than one row, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
now your question is, what function do you use when you've got observations that are represented on more than one row? So that's my hint to you. So that should, if you look through your chapter 12 stuff, that's a pretty big hint. That should lead you right to the function that you want to use.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's telling me that I can't load the data set into Excel.
So you shouldn't need to load it into Excel though.
Okay. Well, so how do I down?
Yeah, so you should just be able to save the file directly to your computer and then call it. So like if you, like on Canvas, when you download it, it should just download and then you shouldn't need to actually open it with Excel. I mean, it should open with Excel. There's no reason it wouldn't. It's a CSV. It's just unnecessary.
The only way it'll let me open it is through Excel. And I can't access it.
So why not open it in R?
So I'm trying to download it first.
Mhm.
And it won't even give me the option to open it in R.
So what line of code are you using to open it in R?
Well, I'm still, okay, so I like click download,
Mhm.
and then I'm trying to save it into a specific folder. So like when I click, so I downloaded it and now it's saying open, and I can do open, always open files, or show in folder. Oh wait, maybe that's what I want. Show in
Yeah,
folder.
do show in folder, and then you can just cut and paste it over the folder you want. Yeah, so in general, especially for Mac users, but I think you're on a PC, right, Brooke?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially for Mac users, you want to be really careful if you're going to download a file, open it in Excel, and then download it in Word. I've noticed for Mac users, I forget what the program is that Mac uses, but it can muck with the form of CSVs if you're not careful. On a PC, I generally don't have that trouble, but you do always want to be aware anytime you open, a data file in any software really, that it's not altering the original data file. And for some reason, some Mac programs I know for sure will do that. Samuel or Sam, did you find a function? If not, I'll give you a hint.
No, I figured it out. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Do we need to put all 3 data sets together at the end or just clean up?
Nope, they just all need it, by the end, they need to all be in tidy form. But so really, after they're in tidy form, they should all 3 pretty much be the same data set. The only
Yeah.
thing that might be different is your columns might be in a different organization, but yeah, there's no need to combine them or do anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did the first one need anything done to it?
That would give you the answer. So
Okay,
if
let
it's
me go
tidy,
back.
then no. If it's tidy, you don't need to do anything. So you just want to double check that it's tidy, and if so, you don't need to do anything. You just need to say, this is why it's tidy.
Okay. Oh, also separately, just like a more general question. Like 2 of my professors last week both said that you don't appreciate how much time you have in grad school and you should try and, like be more productive, which terrified me because I feel like I have no time in grad school because you don't know how busy you get once you're like a professor. And I don't think I want to go into academia, but still that sentiment like freaked me out.
I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think that is true of no matter what profession you go in. And I don't even think it's necessarily grad school versus academia. I just think it's the older you get, the more things get put on your plate. And so life just keeps on getting busier and busier. And I think that's just the nature of things. Because, I mean, we think of, typically, I mean, not everybody's progression is like this, but, usually after grad school is when people have kids. You have kids, life gets busier. You get married after grad school, life gets busier. So you get, as you get older, your parents probably get sicker. So you have to help them. So life gets busier. So you have all these personal things that also make life busier as you get older. And then, professionally, yeah, I mean, you tend to take on more things but what happens is you get better and better at time management. So, I mean, think about like when you were in kindergarten, right? The amount of stuff that you could do in kindergarten, if you tried to do it right now, it would probably just take you a couple hours. But it was really hard when you were a kindergartner, right? I think the same thing just applies as we get older and older. So I don't know. I mean, I was swamped as a graduate student. I feel swamped now, but I don't know that I would necessarily tell someone savor this time. This is the least busy you'll ever be, I mean, yeah, grad students are busy, but I do think again, as we get older and we age, we get more and more responsibilities, whether it be professionally or personally. And just like we learn faster as we get older, sometimes I think we learn to juggle those things easier as well.
I'll just work on staying young forever.
I would like to say that, we could do that. But no, I mean, I remember
just keep the sweet mustache.
Cool.
That's all you need.
Thanks, Ron.
No, I mean, like I said, I sympathize with you all. Given the option between, how busy I am now and going back to grad school, I'm very happy where I'm at right now. Grad school's stressful. You're busy, it's stressful, you're trying to balance stuff. I definitely don't think of it as being, oh, that was the easy time.
Yeah. All right. Well, I just submitted my lab, so I'm out of here. And thank you as always.
You're welcome. Have a fantastic day.
You too.
See you next time.
Bye, Ron.
Bye.
Dr. Ellis, I'm sure this question has already been asked, but as far as explanation and stuff, like if it seems like a simple problem, is a simple explanation probably enough?
100%.
Cool.
No need to overcomplicate things.
Got it.
Brooke, I do have to say, when Sam asked if things about things getting busier, your face was, please tell me it doesn't get busier.
I'm just so spread thin right now, and I need like a week to just do nothing. But
I
that's all right.
100% agree. Like I've said it 100 times, I'll say it again. I swear it's the lack of spring break, and I think everyone feels it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
I
agree
feel like
with
if
that.
if I'd had that spring break,
Yeah, I think it was a big mistake to take it away. Like I understand why they did it, but I think in hindsight, there's just, you have to give people that break because it doesn't work otherwise.
no, I agree. Faculty and student. I know as a faculty member, like at this point, I feel like we have all been running this marathon, and it's not just academically, personally, we all have as well this last year. And so I think we all feel, we feel the need for the end of, the academic year as well as just everything else right now. I looked at my fiance, I think it was 2 days ago, and I was like, look, we just got to go ahead and book a vacation. Like it's going to have to be this summer. We just have to book it now so we have something to look forward to.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not like a beach guy. I haven't gone to the beach that many times, but like after this semester, I was like, I need to like, I just talked to my girlfriend. I was like, let's just, even if it's just like 3 days, like get like a place and just like do nothing and just like go ahead and try to plan that now. Cause like, oh my gosh.
No, 100%. That was the exact conversation we had. We were just looking at getting like a cabin in the middle of nowhere, just the two of us, just to, unhook and just be like, look, we're not going to do anything but sit in this cabin and maybe like go to some breweries for a couple days just to decompress.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want just the PDF or like the file from the notebook as well?
PDF's fine. Since the code will be in the PDF, we should be able to pretty quickly see, if it's, correct or not. And when you do the conversion, well, I guess depending on how you do it, it would be nice since the actual data is pretty small in your PDF, depending on how you did the conversion. If you saved it as a new object, call that object so it'll print in the PDF if you can.
Yeah,
I didn't save it.
Yeah, I printed it. I did like I did a pipe and then like I printed it at the end of
That's
the pipe.
perfect. That's exactly what I did. So that way, we can quickly see is it in tidy form or not.
When I knit to a PDF, it looks like it kind of automatically prints it. So is that fine?
Yeah, that's 100% fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
'Cause
depending on how you call it is whether or not it does that automatic print. So yeah, if yours is automatically calling it, that's perfectly fine.
Okay, great.
Thank you. I'll see you in 2 weeks. I'm not going to be here next week.
Sounds good. If you need any help next week, since you won't be there, just let me know and I'll try to remember, just like always I'll record the session and post it on Canvas.
Sounds good. Because, well, next week we're like dissecting all my animals. So it's going to be pretty much like 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day.
Whew, that's a long week.
Yep. So I might try to do like all the work Saturday, Sunday, and then show up for the office hours Monday.
Gotcha.
To get like the practical exercises and the lab like questions that I might have.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
All right, I believe I've submitted the correct file this time, hopefully. So,
All right. Well, if you need
Good.
anything, before next week, let me know.
I will. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
You too.
Now, Brooke, do you take summer classes where you get a break during the summer? Oh, you're muted.
No, I don't take summer classes.
So good. So you'll get at least some bit of a break over the summer.
Yeah, I'm like super worn out at the moment.
I was
so-
going to say, I know all of us are, and I know you are especially.
I was like, at the
I'm
beginning
actually
of the
gonna go ahead and
semester, I had, huh?
Let me stop.